hear the sound. Maybe it will bless the earth until we shout out loud. Shalom. If we just started with a whisper, just enough to hear the sound, maybe it will bless the earth until we shout out loud. Shalom.
Shalom. I am Rabbi Shaul Praver. Once again, we have the great privilege of being with Rabbi Joseph Ehrenkranz, and we are actually launching into a very deep discussion about the very basis of what our theologies are. What is Mashiach? What is Messiah? Where did that theology come from? Where did the theology of Techiyat HaMeitim, the resurrection of the dead, come from? What does it mean, actually? What's the origins of it, and how should we, as people living in the 21st century, understand the concept of Mashiach ben David, the Messiah, the son of David? How should we understand this call to believe in the resurrection of the dead? Very strange concepts. And so we have here a towering intellect and beautiful mind, Rabbi Joseph Ehrenkranz. Welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm bothered by the idea of waiting for something to happen. In a way, it seems like a non-Jewish concept, because we're living in the words of the Kabbalah, Olam Asiyah, the world of action, okay, where we go out and we impact the world, we fix the world. We're not waiting. We're not in a waiting place. Where did this idea of waiting for the Messiah come from?
When you go through as much tsaros as the Jewish people went through as a nation over the centuries, you sure need some sense of hope. And maybe, not this year, but next year, God is going to send the difference to the world. The question is, we are God's chosen people, and we have more suffering than any other people. So the people petition its leaders, our leaders, and they assure us, well, life is 70 years, 80 years, but death, you're going to be dead for thousands of years. And that's when you'll be elevated, and the others won't have those poor acting people. They won't have the resurrection, the life after death that you're going to have. So it was important to give us that kind of courage, and maybe it's important today. But I'll tell you,
Is it delusional?
well, I was going to get up on the pulpit one day and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mashiach." But I thought they'd kill me. But
Then
I
you
do
thought-
say,
You had second thoughts about that.
I do say, you are Mashiach.
Now, what do you mean?
To
by that?
anyone I talk to, because Mashiach is someone who has been anointed to lead us into the perfect world, a better world. You are Mashiach, every one of us. And I told you that if the Jewish people could have thought that Cyrus was Mashiach because he paid Jewish people to go back to Israel to build the temple. He paid for the rebuilding of the temple. He gave them the kelim to rebuild the temple.
Yes.
So he was thought of as Mashiach,
He was called the Anointed One.
the anointed one. So anybody who helps,
Okay.
anybody.
You
who
are an
does-
Orthodox rabbi.
Yeah,
You
I
came
know,
through
I know.
through
It's very hard.
Yeshiva University. Rav Soloveitchik was your Rebbe, and you still regard him as such. What does the Orthodox institution say about? I happen to agree with you.
I
But
don't.
what do they say?
I don't discuss my orthodoxy. I'm 81, as I told you. I'm beginning to write a book of this man's Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to call it Ehrenkranz Judaism, but my friends told me I have children who could not associate with that Judaism that I would write about. So I have to call it the Joe Ehrenkranz Judaism, or the Rabbi Joe, as I've been known.
All right, never mind
It
what
is-
people say.
It is.
We'll go with the
my-
pure
m-
thoughts.
My pure thoughts are, I want to suggest to you and your readers, David Shapiro and Menachem Kellner, both books on Maimonides.
Yes.
What does a Jew have to believe? Does a Jew have to believe? On and on. These are great writers, and write a lot on Maimonides, a lot on the Rambam. And they seem to think, as they developed the Rambam, step by step in his
Yes.
thoughts, that number one, he denied resurrection.
Did he?
Yeah. And when he was challenged on it, he said, no, there will be resurrection. Otherwise, they burned his books anyway. But there will be resurrection, but that's reserved for tzaddikim.
Uh-huh.
And even they will have a resurrection of a small period of time to make up for the fun that they missed, the pleasures that they missed. And then they will die permanently.
Wow.
So the question is, should I look forward to 2 deaths? Timonish Kentivus. But
Do you think that, I have a deep thought about that. Do you think that the resurrection could be simply where humanity realizes that death is really an illusion?
no.
Where we could understand, where we could maybe actually get a little bit of evidence to the eternity of the soul, the nitzchiut of the soul? Is it possible?
My belief is that the soul is eternal because it comes from God. God is indestructible. The soul is indestructible. The question is, what does that mean? Certainly, Maimonides is very strong that there would be no rebuilding of a body. There'll be no eating, drinking, all the pleasures of life. What does Maimonides say is the reward in heaven? We will sit with crowns on our head and have all of the questions we ever had answered. Maimonides was a pure intellect, and the only unhappiness he had is not having an answer to the questions he had. That was his unhappiness. So what is Olam Haba? Olam Haba, the reward will be to sit before God and I'll know everything I ever wanted to know. That's my reward. And if you're not going to have that reward, you'll never get to heaven. And that's what he writes. Heaven is not for everybody. He even... I don't want to go into that.
That's a very deep thought.
Yeah.
Now, well, there's a very strong, urgent need in every human being, existential need, to know that they're not lost, that they have salvation. Yeah, and because what does it mean if a person lives even 120 years, and then one day when they pass away, they'll have no recollection of ever having lived? That is not. How can anybody even get up in the morning accepting such a reality without having a more exalted belief about what life could be?